Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for bearing with us and being patient. We know we're running slightly behind here, and welcome to the first digital version of the Clutch. Just a couple of quick introductions. My name is David Martin. I'm co-founder and director at Esports Global. We are an entity that currently has made a couple of personal investments, one into a Call of Duty franchise and one called the London Royal Ravens, and one more that we will be able to announce formally in the next kind of 48 hours, which is a UK male and female League of Legends teams with an academy element that sits behind it down in the lower league. So not up in LEC or LCS, but a very exciting opportunity for us. We've got a great panel tonight, starting with Malte Barth, who's a founding partner at BITKRAFT. Good to see you, Malte. Patrick's here, Patrick Mahoney, CEO of We Are Nations. Patrick, I'm going to give you all an opportunity, because we're going to have this drop-off moment in between all, to just talk a little bit about what you're doing at the moment. Patrick, some exciting stuff we're hearing from We Are Nations as well in the investment space, so I'd like to hear more about that. David Gowans. Now, David, you have an incredibly long title, Head of Creativity, Technology, Games and Esports at Barclays. So an incredible title. And then last but not least, Fabio Franca, who's bathed in sunlight there, and the investment director of Station Art. So pleasure to see you all here. We're very excited, and we're going to move straight into, I think, the first pitch. There are going to be 4 pitches tonight. We've got 4 great up-and-coming esports businesses that are going to spend 5 minutes pitching with a 10-minute Q&A, opportunity for us to ask some questions. And then for those that are watching, just to kind of have a look at what that looks like if you're an entity that wants to pitch, if you're an investor, just to get a feel out for what's going on. And then at the end, the judges will confer, and in 24 hours' time, you'll know who the winner of the first digital Clutch will be. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first pitch, and this is from Teams and their CEO, James Duffield. So Teams is a solution for connecting gamers to create community, particularly in multiplayer games across video games and esports, and really showing the benefit for publishers of people staying within those games for a longer period of time and engaging within those communities, because we know that is a big measure for publishers. So James, over to you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I'm James from teams.gg. I'll try and fit this into 5 minutes, and I'm hoping that I can control the screen here. Yes, I can. Cool. Okay, so multiplayer games, esports, the kind of games we're talking about this week, most of them are better played as a team. That means that people can communicate together. They're always speaking the same language. They're on microphones. And because of that, they're able to build strategies and tactics, and they can improve together, and ultimately they become friends. And if you're lucky enough to achieve that as a player, you enjoy the game more, you win your games more, and ultimately you then play the game for longer, you play more often, and that makes it really important, not just for the players, but also the publishers involved in those games, and also tournament organizers and all the businesses around that game. We know the size of the market here. You guys know this already. 1.5 billion players play the kind of games we're talking about. But the gamers we're focusing on are the millions and millions of players who actually end up playing alone. They play matchmaking, they play with random people. And the reason they do that is because at the moment it's really difficult to find the right teammates. The way people are trying to find the right teammates is via chat rooms like Discord, via forums like Reddit, and they're even using YouTube comments like the one you can see on your screen now. It was when we saw YouTube comments like this that we really realized this was something we wanted to try and fix. So what we did, we built teams.gg. When a player comes to Teams, they answer a few questions about themselves, and they answer questions about what they're looking for in their ideal teammates. And then our custom-built algorithm takes all that information and ranks and matches them against everyone else on the site and displays very clearly to them with a load of information about who they should be playing with. The way we do this is with some of the criteria and attributes that you can see on your screen here. Really early on in the process, we surveyed 1,000 Counter-Strike players before we designed a pixel of it and said, what are you looking for in your ideal teammates? What's most important to you? Availability and commitment were some of the things that really ranked highly on that, but also things like previous experience and future ambitions were things that people are not asking about, not asking to these players, but that are really, really key. And so we decided to ask them. So we launched last year to an incredible reception from the Counter-Strike community, and 2,000 people signed up in the first 24 hours, which completely surpassed our expectations. And then the feedback that we got was not only positive, but we had some negative too. And we listened to all of that feedback, and that allowed us over the following months to really achieve product market fit. To iterate on the connection experience, the discovery experience, but most notably, the algorithm itself. The algorithm has evolved since we launched, and it will continue to evolve as we expand to more games and add new features. Right now, we're at over 10,000 players who are searching and connecting with each other on teams. And why are these players connecting? Why are they coming back? Why was the reception so good? We think it's because some of these unique points in our product. The algorithm, the data-driven approach I've already touched on. But the fact that users must agree to connect before they contact each other is a big deal. People are not inundated with contact requests. People, similarly to LinkedIn, have to say, okay, I like the look of this person. I feel like we should play together. Let's add each other on Steam or Discord or so be it. And also, we say it's not pay to win. That's a big deal for us because we want our users to look at their discovery page, look at that list of players, and be really confident that the people at the top of that list are the people who are best for them, not because they paid to be there. That's why they're there. So what's next for us? Currently, we're really hyper-focused on multi-game. What that means for us is that we want to cater for many communities. We want to cater for a large amount of players, but we want to do it in a bespoke way. We can't just copy paste what we've done already. Sorry, I've got I've got Zoom talking to me. I don't know if you can hear that, but I'll just carry on going. Let me just bear with me a moment. I'm not sure if that's Zoom or something. Anyway, what are we doing now? Multi-game. We're catering for communities, but we're doing it in a really bespoke way. I'm hoping you'll give me a couple of extra seconds for that. We're doing it so that the questions we ask, the criterias we look at are going to be completely different if we're looking at League of Legends versus CS. So we're really focused on that. Once we've done that, we're going to build tools that help those players who have formed teams, who have formed groups of friends to do all of the things that they want to be doing, which is playing more. So, for instance, they're going to want to schedule when are we playing in leagues, when are we playing in tournaments, and when are we going to be practicing against other teams, for example. And then once we're playing against other teams, what teams should we be playing against? How can we find teams of our skill level who are around at the same time that we want to play practice matches? We want to help them answer all those questions with new tools. And then that leads into a B2C premium subscription model, which unlocks the full depth of that suite of tools. Alongside that, we'll also be looking at partnerships with publishers and tournament organizers. As I said, we add a load of value. So what does that look like right now? We're 3 people. Everything you've seen so far, we built with 3 guys, 3 co-founders. So we're looking right now to raise £800,000 to allow us to increase our development capabilities, to add more tools so that we keep people coming back every day, and increasing our user acquisition so that we can drive towards our revenue goals in the first 12 to 18 months. Thank you.
James, perfect timing. I was muted when I told you had 30 seconds. You must have read my lips, I'm sure. But look, thank you very much for that, and thank you for dealing with the slight technical challenge there. So thank you very much. Malta, if I may go to you first with any questions that you have for James.
You're muted, Malta, I think, or I can't hear you.
I have a
Malte,
question.
yeah. Okay, so is that you, David? Yeah, let's go to David first. Okay, thank you.
Brilliant. James, fantastic presentation. With what you have at the moment, so that being able to connect people who want to play games together at the same level. So right now, you know, it isn't a unique offering. There are some things where Microsoft have in their game bar at the moment looking for group, and you know, you've mentioned Discord channels and Reddit, but I found sometimes by using that myself, I've been catfished by the person that that I thought would be at the highest skill level to help me, you know,
Right.
on a run on Escape from Tarkov or something like that. What metrics, what are you using to set yourself apart from some of the services that exist already?
Yeah, so the big thing that sets us apart from pretty much everyone else who's trying to solve team finding right now is the algorithm approach, the sort of the dating site approach, you know, not trying to find dates, but finding teammates. As far as we're aware, there's no one doing that, or if they are doing it, they're not asking the kind of questions that we're asking to get the kind of information that players want to know about each other. And in terms of being catfished, that can be a thing. So we're really conscious of allowing our users to be able to report if people do that to themselves, to other people, and we want to solve that. But there's also little bits like, for instance, we link with APIs in the Counter-Strike example, we link to the Faceit API. So someone couldn't say they were better than they are on Counter-Strike. We have similar thing with Valve stats. It's not as robust as Faceit, but we believe that linking to those points of truth are really key to not be catfished.
Brilliant.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank
James.
you. Malte, we'll try to come back to you. Hey.
I'm sorry, I still can't hear you.
All right, okay, we've lost you there slightly. Fabio.
If you write it in the chat, I can.
Yeah, Fabio, any questions from your side?
Sure. Thanks, James, for the presentation. Can you tell me a bit more about those 10,000 players who are looking for each other on your platform? Can you tell me how long it took you to get there? How often, you know, they are searching? What's the behavior? I just want to understand, you know, some
Yeah.
what's the secret behind the data you have so far?
Yeah. So in terms of acquiring those users, as I say, we had a big burst at launch, and then what we did, because we were very conscious of making sure that we brought in new users once or twice a month on marketing pushes. Just to point out, we haven't paid any money for advertising at this point. This is all organic. This is us going to Reddit and social saying we built this thing. Do you like it? So we do that every now and again to bring in new users. So it's been launched for around 8 months now. Each month we bring in another 1,000 users to learn from them and add new features. A big part of why we're raising money right now is that we recognize that there's a load of more players that we can bring value to. And in terms of the behavior, what we've got a this really powerful sort of notification system via email. It works very similar to what you'd experience with LinkedIn connections, where a player doesn't have to come back to our site every day. We understand that it's not a platform where we expect that right now until we build extra tools. So we have this email that comes around if someone wants to connect with you, and if someone has connected with you, and also if you haven't been back to the site for a little while, we'll send you an update that shows any new players who have joined who are good for you. So what we're seeing in terms of behavior is people who signed up on day one last year are coming back yesterday, day before, because someone new joined and they thought they were good for them. So we're seeing this really nice cycle and nice loop.
Great.
And in terms of the rest, sorry, can I have another quick question?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. In terms of the current COVID-19 hiatus, let's call it, have you seen a bigger increase in signups, and did you see players being more online? Is that
Yeah, we can see that when you look at the graphs, you can see a very clear trend upwards in pretty much all aspects. A big thing for us is that it kind of aligned with our search engine optimization being recognized by Google. Obviously, it wasn't there on day one. I think around the same time, and with COVID and people searching for wanting to find groups, find teams, we've seen a big increase in particularly search, up to 130% increase, I think, month over month.
Thank you very much. I'll pass on to my colleague now. Thanks.
Perfect. Patrick, from your side, any questions?
Yeah, I really appreciate. First of all, James, it was a great presentation.
Thank you.
I really appreciated your comment about listening to customers about things that they didn't like. So I was just curious, what were some of the things they were asking or talking about?
So most notable were the algorithmic bits. People putting all their information in and not necessarily finding anyone, and that was not only a result of there being fewer people at the beginning. They should have been finding people. So we listened to that, and what we've done is we've tweaked a lot of the questions. Some of the questions were not as clear as we thought they would be. We've tweaked how the algorithm understands the answers to those questions. So that's some of it. A big one was that people wanted to remove connections at launch. We always had that in our mind that we would let people do that, but at launch we're like, no, this is all about getting connections, adding connections, and how many people are really going to want to remove people. But that was one that came up a lot, and since then we've added a remove connection feature, and a lot of little things like that. People wanted to share outside of the platform as well, their profile, their listing. We now have that.
Great.
Things like that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Malte, have we grabbed you there? Sorry to ask you again. I'm just going to test your audio. Oh, that's a real shame. Because I know it'll be the one that caught you out. I know.
Yeah,
be the question
Malte, if you'd like to write it in the chat, I'm happy to answer that way.
Yeah, I'm conscious we've got a couple of minutes left. I have a question, James, that I'm really intrigued with. Is, of course, when I opened this up for you, one of the things I talked about was that what's interesting about what you're doing, and anyone in this space is doing, is they are helping the games that are out there at the moment keep players within those games and playing them more frequently. As a Call of Duty player, I know what that's all about. I need my community to, it gets me online more, it gets me playing more, doing all those kind of things. How are you demonstrably showing ROI or value to the publisher at the moment? How are you exporting what you're doing in terms of players playing from you through your channel and being able to go, that's what we're doing for you, that's the value? Because of course that's the ball game, really. If you can do that.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely something we're conscious of. I think in terms of Counter-Strike, I believe there's stuff we can do, and we're not doing it right now at this moment because we're not going all in on the publisher angle. But once we are, and we're going out pitching this idea that you've just described to publishers, we're going to be looking at playtime when people have connected with people on Steam, for instance, via our platform, have added them on Steam, are playing Counter-Strike. How much more are they playing? That's the big stat for a publisher, really. That will differ per game because we might not have that kind of access to API in all games. But then I would start to mention the fact that we're already in conversations with a lot of publishers from a fact that they are very interested in what we're building and they want to help support that around their game. So I think at that point, and we know that internally they will be looking at these stats anyway, at that point we can say to them, look, of the users that have used this, of these accounts, is that there's an increase here in how much they're playing. Or for instance, how many players or teams are taking part in the publisher-owned leagues or tournament organizers leagues and events. That's a big part. It's essentially how many more people are taking part in your ecosystem. We're not doing that right now, but we're very conscious of it.
Okay, thank you. And I think we've got about a minute left for questions.
So Malte said multi-game usage. Yeah. Right now, we're not launched in the other games. Does this mean how many people are using it now, or is it?
I think that's a question, James. Actually, that's about possibly it's about what's the plan for other game titles?
Sure. Okay, so we're not there yet. What we're doing, we're essentially rebuilding the back end of our site, which is a huge undertaking. And that will mean that we can plug in new criteria and attributes. So for instance, what we don't have in Counter-Strike is characters. But for something like Valorant or a League of Legends or an Overwatch, we need users to be able to say what their primary and secondary characters are. Once we've built a character module, we will be able to plug that into Valorant, plug it into League, plug it into this, and any new game that comes out that has characters in it, we can plug that in. So we're doing a load of work up front to be able to do that, but we're only launched in CS right now. But a big part of the user feedback that we were speaking about before, a lot of what we felt was positive feedback was that there was a load of players who don't play Counter-Strike who were saying, please make this for our game, which is a big part of why we're doing this.
Thank you. Great. We've probably got time for one more question if anyone has one in specifically. No? Great. Okay, James, brilliant pitch. Thank you very much for joining us. And we'll come back to you soon.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to take probably 2 minutes now just to kind of set up for the next pitch, which is Gamerpro. Patrick, there seems to be some pretty cool things going on at We Are Nations at the moment. I wonder whether you want to talk a little bit about what's happening and in the investment space at the moment. Anything around that, or just anything in general, really, just for a couple of minutes, and kind of how things are going there.
Well, thanks for that. It's literally my first day on the job, on the investment side. So hopefully I'm doing okay. Cool. But it really comes down to, I mean, we've been talking about doing this for about 6 months, coming out of last year. We had a sort of a big meeting, sort of fourth quarter meeting about next steps, and this is one of the ideas that started to talk about. But really, to me, it felt like it accelerated when, maybe this is one of the advantages of COVID-19 is, I've been sitting on this couch every day for 10 weeks now, and literally I've had more calls with more different people than I normally would in the normal course of business, and suddenly it's like, wow, there's some great ideas out there. There's some great people out there. I've got this opportunity to sort of go out of my safe zone a little bit, or my normal business social circle, to see what's going on, and sort of went back to everyone and said, yeah, this might be the time to pull the trigger on this, and so we did.
Brilliant.
I feel
fantastic.
Yeah.
And in particular, you talk a little bit about the ethos of what you're trying to do in terms of size of investments. Is this about underpinning the growth of the ecosystem in that kind of seed round and up, Patrick, at the moment for you?
Yeah, it's for us, it's definitely seed investments. And then also too, where can we help as a company? And that might be obvious things, the merchandising side, but it might be less obvious things too, like central services and, even things like payroll and banking relationships and things like that, so it's really, it's pretty wide open on that sort of second half of the things that we could provide.
Yeah, that's really cool, actually. And I think that, when I think about kind of, particular, the kind of second investment we're gonna put some of our own capital into, one of the big things we're going to do for that entity is that kind of back office stuff, right, which helps them out in the early stages and gets them rocking and rolling, and then the strategic element of the relationships and the opportunities that you can help bring them into, which I think kind of rings true in all of the people here today, and how their kind of investment ethos works. I know I listened to Malte talk about that on numerous occasions, where they talk about how they can provide that strategic and introductory and relationship service. So it's really cool. I think someone's going to prod me when it's time for our second one. So are we ready to go? Okay, perfect. Let's go straight into it then. So we're now going to hear from Gamerpro and their CEO, Gary Sonyak. They're an esports service provider in the mobile space, connecting gamers and publishers and creating new monetization opportunities for mobile games. So, Gary, you have 5 minutes. Over to you. Gary, I hope you can hear us okay. Okay, we'll just possibly give it a moment there while we try and get Gary's audio together. I suffered a similar situation earlier, so in these times of everything being digital, we'll have these little challenges. Just while we try and get Gary online, David, what a title. It sounds
It,
like you've got your work cut out. Head of Creative Technology, Games, and Esports at Barclays. Just give us a little flavour of what your job is like. Kind of.
Absolutely. So I think that the area of Barclays I work in, so I work across the Barclays group in an area called Barclays Ventures. And one of the ambitions for Barclays, as we've done for hundreds of years in the UK and around the world, is to support industry and really, make sure that we're supporting, that we are adapting our business to make sure we can support and enhance offerings towards a particular sector. So the best thing about my job is I get to do that for people who work in the creative industries, but really for the last year we've been focusing on games and esports, really looking at what we can do to support the development industry for games, or particularly around the UK, and what we can also do to explore, esports, supporting the sector, and also, moving forward as, a company that has a long tradition in sports, looking at how we can bring some of that to the sector, and also have some partnerships and sponsorships. So we've been really looking at what we can do to reshape our business to support it. We are the first bank of our kind to now offer products and services directly for the video games development industry, with our video game tax credit loan, that we will help companies get access to funding quicker as they are waiting for the tax credits within the UK. And also looking at, we are a bank that has support, payment services, access to funding, a whole range of offerings where we can look at what we can do to support it. But I think the key part is just there is a fantastic, vibrant industry that we really want to accelerate our engagement with, and try to do that the right way, through our grassroots approach that we've been taking, and be curious and learning about the industry and coming to great events like today, to see what we can do to put some of our power behind that.
Fantastic, David. That's great, and I think we've got Gary back. Just before I do, I'll be coming to see you with my London Royal Ravens at some point. So look, brilliant. We've got Gary back. Gary, hopefully you can hear us now. We introed you earlier.
Yes, I can hear.
Perfect. I'm conscious we've got people watching, and we're moving on with time. So you've got 5 minutes now, Gary, and good luck with that. Okay, over to you.
All right, thank you. Hi, all of us. Some of you already know me, because I have just only 5 minutes, so let's jump into the deck. So if you ask me what is Gamerpro in one sentence, I would say Gamerpro is an esports service provider on mobile. And I am convinced to provide an esports service for mobile gamers is the next big deal. So yeah, start. Let me. Okay. Yeah. Okay, can you see my deck? Because I changed to the next slide.
Yeah, we can see that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So esports was born ages ago, but it has started appearing in mobile games in the last few years. And in these years, we have developed the platform to fulfill the significant demands of mobile gamers. But the most demand is the time. All of us want to get everything instantly. And we strived for this during the development and made the service as instantly as possible. First of all, users need to top up money to their individual Gamerpro account. After top up, Gamerpro gives opponents in real time. And after completing the games, we charge 10% of the price. Users, mostly winners, are able to make withdrawals. That's our esports service in nutshell. The service was simple enough to start gaining validation on the market by running ads on social networks globally in Q2 and Q3 last year. These are initial traction, what we reached with many frictions in the user journey. So it is quite promising, and we could say that there is a huge need out there for our service. And of course, the next big challenge, as always, is the scale up. But before scale up, the first step is removing all frictions from the user journey. You see all the manual steps here, what we had to remove, and we did. And since we charge the service fee when a game is completed, there have to as many completed games as possible. So automation is vital for us. Secondly, user economics could be way better if we do not pay for acquiring users upfront by running ads, how we did last year. So the conclusion is we need to involve and need to motivate the game publishers. So we need a proposition that cannot be refused, and that's our revenue share model. Firstly, let me show you the entire mechanism of the new model. So the left-hand side is the B2B, and the right is the B2C part. We'll start with the publishers by placing Gamerpro as the official esports platform in the mobile games. So the user acquisition and the connection of the games can be done at the same time. For users, on the right-hand side, we provide the esports service as we did last year, and generate revenue on all completed games. And the revenue stream based on the gross income of Gamerpro, split into two channels, user-based and game-based. And on the next slide, a short video shows you how it will work in practice. The video is based on PUBG, but we are not partnered with them yet. It's important to note the esports button is only a linking feature. Tapping on this button, the in-game profile of users are linking to Gamerpro. After that, we are opening Gamerpro, and the next step is the top-up. After top-up, the opponents will be provided by Gamerpro, which process is fully automated. After you confirming your opponent, the game is opening directly from Gamerpro. No need to find each other. Users play the game as they usually do, and of course, after completing it, the result of this game is sent back to Gamerpro by using our own API. And we charge the service fee based on the price, so generating revenue as we did last year. So it is the new user journey, and let's talk a bit more about the revenue share model. This approach of the revenue share is game-centric. Connect mobile games to Gamerpro to provide esports experience for the community, and we share 30% of our generated revenue based on any users who compete in the given game. So it means the entire community of Gamerpro is a possible customer for publishers. The next approach of revenue share is user-centric. The users compete in any game on Gamerpro, and we share 40% of our generated revenue based on their matches, as long as they use our service. So publishers generate revenue if their users compete with another, even a competitor's game, which is totally unique. And we are combining the two streams. Pardon?
Sorry, just 30 seconds now left.
Okay, so our platform is an easy integration solution, since UI modification is quite limited. So I highlight it because this is the major need on the publisher side. If you have a look at this slide, we could say that our biggest competitors is the skills, but our separate mobile app allows the publishers to integrate only the linking button and change nothing else in the game. You should know that we have almost finished this API, and with friendly publishers to get much as feedback as we can from them. This easy integration API, this easy integration API will secure the good pace of expansion, and this good pace could ensure the overall profitability at the end of the 18 months. But the 5 minutes are up, so I would advise starting the question section. I think so.
Thank you, Gary, and thank you very much. Yeah, spot on there in terms of the timing. Thank you for your presentation as well. I'm sure the panel will have some questions. So let me go to Patrick first, if I may. I think I may have gone to you first last time, but I'll go again if you have a question.
Yeah, Gary, that was great. Thank you. One question. So on your top 5 countries, it's USA, UK, India, Mexico, and Argentina. Is that in order or?
Yeah, it is an order, and the order is in revenue, what we generated last year.
Okay. And it's not adjusted for population or anything like that? It's just straight line?
No. We sort this list according to the revenue, what we generated last year in Q2 and Q3.
Okay, great. And where are you based? Are you in the UK or?
Well, the company based in the UK. I live in Cambridge, Hartley, and right now I'm stuck here in Budapest because of the pandemic. But I'm Hungarian. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Fabio.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Going back to those players and users, is there any way you can break it down? Like your whales, your dolphins, your minnows. Are there players bigger than some others? And then, if so, how do you target from a marketing point of view? How do you keep those guys retained on the platform? And can you give a bit of an insight into that customer base, both on the B2C and B2B?
Yeah, there's 2 different things because what we did last year, we targeted the users according to the games on Facebook and on Instagram and all the stuff. But with the new model, we need to be partnered with the publishers, with the game publishers, and we are trying to get in touch with those publishers who own the games which are popular in our top countries, so in the US, in the UK, and India. So that's our approach with the new model.
Okay, and in terms of the raise, what's your strategy behind the raise now?
Sorry, but I didn't hear you.
Are you raising in the UK? Are you raising in Europe? How much? I mean, who are you talking to?
We are looking for with this new model for $1 million in US dollars, because the company changed the currency from euros to US dollars because we gained global traction and the users top up US dollars and paid out US dollars, so that's why we changed it.
Okay, Gary, I think. I think just to follow on from that, in terms of cap table and what you're doing at the moment, I mean, some things you can talk about. I'm guessing you had an earlier seed round or some investment in earlier. Have you got a couple of people already, in this raise round looking to follow at the moment? Is this all new money that you're looking to raise?
Will be all new money what we are looking to raise, because the recent investors made the follow-up already last year, so that's why we want to raise hopefully from a traditional VC fund, because we are not just looking for money, we are looking for partners who we can learn a lot about how we can build a startup and how we can reach our aims.
Okay, great. Malte, we're going to try you again, my friend, and hopefully we've got you. Yes.
So
how you doing?
You hear me now? Oh man, this is great.
Yeah,
we logged in and restarted everything. I don't know. Sorry for that earlier. No, Gary, thanks so much for the great pitch. Awesome stuff. I like the little animation. Pretty cool. So the key question to me here really is, and it's a bit of a difficult connection, is getting into the publishers, right? With an API. I mean, we've seen difficulties in getting your SDK, API, whatever, integrated into them. And if you integrate it in the big games, since they're pretty top heavy, it's a pretty tough one to crack. How do you think about this?
Yeah, I agree with you. Though that's why we are going to reach out the mid-size game publishers. Firstly, it doesn't mean that we don't rush for the big fishes. It just means that we will start with the mid-size companies, but we outreach all those game publishers who has skill-based mobile games, because it's very important that we don't want to implement or involve any mobile games which based on chance, because in this case, we could fall under gambling licenses and all the stuff. So that's why we are looking for skill-based games, but not globally. We are focusing our validated markets. I would say top 10 markets, not only the top 5. What was in my pitch.
Got it. And the other one, obviously, economics always matter. So the 70% rev share, doesn't that worry you a little bit?
I didn't mention it because the time was so short. But we are going to share this 70% with the first 5 companies, to make them more motivated. Because I think all of us can agree that the first deal get done. This is the biggest challenge for a startup. So that's why we want to make a proposition for them which cannot be refused. And the 70%, I think it's a huge offer. But after that, we are going to reduce it 50-50, 50%.
Okay. Awesome. So and the other one is it's a super competitive space, right? You're up against some big guys who've been long established with hundreds of millions of MAUs and stuff. Is that something you take on just like that?
You mean with the game publishers? Or
no, I mean competitive platforms, whether it's like G-Loot or Skills or whoever else you're technically up against, and they eat a lot of the cake, and they have big acquisition pipelines and so on and so forth.
Well, the G-Loot and the Skills had a backend solution, so they implement the whole esports user journey into the mobile games, which is technically is a huge overhead for the game publishers. This is the first thing. Secondly, I'm more than sure that you heard about the Google has a gambling policy. So if a game publisher, a game developer implement all the steps, I mean the top up, the withdrawals and all the stuff, it means that these games violate the gambling policy, and that's why they are going to kicked out from the Play Store. How Gamerpro was kicked out from the Play Store, but it doesn't matter for us. But for game developers, it's a huge issue if they implement everything into the mobile games. So with our solution, they can stay in the Play Store and the App Store as well. I think it's vital for them because 80% of the app install, this is our market standard app install generates by the Play Store. So none of the game developers is going to skip it or or leave it in any way. I think so. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. David, I'm conscious of time. I've got a quick question, but David, I'll just give you the opportunity to ask one as well before we move on.
I had multiple questions. I'll ask one. I just want to get into a little bit more detail on that, Gary. So great presentation, but I'll keep it to this. So I absolutely get it. And as a kid playing games, when you got a bit more competitive, you put some money into it with your friends. The problem was, and it happened all the time at school, when that started to happen, you would get banned or they would stop that at school. Now, obviously, attitudes are very different around the globe. with playing for money when in a smaller base outside of a larger competition and event. So if something was to happen where where this wasn't desirable from the platform holders at Google and at Apple, what would be the impact to Gamerpro around with not being able to operate on those platforms?
I'm not sure that I understood well because the line is so laggy. So can you repeat just the last sentence, because I didn't
in short. So if your service was not desirable to the platform holders, Google and Apple, what impact would that have on Gamerpro?
We have a workaround, but with Apple Store, it's good for go. We are available, Gamerpro available on App Store, and they handle the esports very different way than the Google did with this gambling policy. So I would say I'm more sure that we can stay in the App Store. But if we cannot, because of course they have the right to change the policy about that, we have a workaround and we can change and move the whole Gamerpro user journey into the web app. Not because we have a native app right now, but we can skip the app stores or the Play Store. Either, but on the Android mobile phones, you can download the APK without using the Play Store. So there is not an issue over there. But with App Store, yeah, it's more closed. I mean the system, so you cannot download any other app from from the internet. You have to download from the App Store. But right now we are good with App Store. We have a workaround, and not just Epic Games did with Play Store either. Because it's a usual solution for everybody. So, I think we have some solution if we have problem in the future.
Okay, David, we might be able to get back to you with another question. I'm hearing through I say an earpiece, I'm hearing through my system that there may be a slight technical delay with our next presenter. I have is it a question, or is it kind of amusing really? But it's about it's going back to my I suppose my fintech world and payment services and technology hat, and blending that with client acquisition and what you're doing in the space. And you're not the only one who does this. Can you talk to me a little bit about how challenger banks, fintechs, particularly those in payment services, who could deploy within your technology, are you talking to any of those at the moment? So are you talking to any of those entities and helping them enter potentially? I talk about this quite a lot actually in different areas about how we can get market entrance for the financial sector. Client acquisition is a huge cost for these new entities, but this might be a smart way to do it. So could you just kind of talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. It's a really good approach and a really good question, because right now I am working on a deck for the challenger banks. So we had the partners who announced us to make the intro for the Visa and the MasterCard, and we are going to have negotiation with the MasterCard and Visa in London. They're based in London, and the Visa and MasterCard, they are going to make intros to the challenger banks, because we have a huge user acquisition channel when we work together with the game publishers, and we can share the users with the challenger or neobanks. So, for example, Revolut just started the operation in the US, so it's a really good lead right now. But you're definitely right. We are on that way, and we are going to be partnered I think different countries have different jurisdictions about the financial license. If we want to open a new market, that's my assumption that we are going to partner with different challenger banks. For example, N26 in the European Union, Revolut Good in the US, and so on. So we are on it, and I think it will be a huge help for Gamerpro as well, because in this case we don't have to force ourselves to make the KYC, the AML, and all the policy what we have to do right now. So yeah, this is the next challenge after the game publishers. So right now we are going to validate our primary market, and in the meantime we are going to start negotiations with the challengers and neobanks who operates on our key markets.
Yeah, and thank you. And I think equally the traditional, apologies, calling them traditional banks, some of the banks that have that history and legacy behind are very quickly now starting to see that they are getting into this space. I mean, we see Barclays here, and they've been here for some time, and they've been in tech for a considerable amount of time. So I think, whilst there are challengers and others, I think that there's David, I don't want to speak too much for Barclays, but I think, just kind of putting that towards you, I think there is an interest in this particular client base, right? Predominantly Gen Z, millennials, and client acquisition for banking and financial service offerings from Barclays. You're on mute, sorry, David.
Absolutely, and I think as working for a company like Barclays, we have a variety of different organizations and approaches to business, but we absolutely see the value in the games industry, in its audience, and in the sector. And I think, just if I can sneak in one more question around that. So Barclays, obviously, we have been around for a very long time in supporting industry, and I like to think that we are trusted in the approach that we take for our customers. And I think with this, Gary, and I just wanted to really kind of pressure you on this, because I want to get through and get the answers around it. So obviously, when you bring money and competitive activity into games, there's there can be a particular focus on this. And I want to ask you just around, this is the approach that you're taking is different from gambling, where it's esports activity. But how do you address that, and how do you make sure that where it's if children are using your service, or young adults, that they can be be responsible in how they are using their finances in using your platform? I just wanted to understand the approach you're taking around that.
Yeah, it's a really good question again. I would say that firstly we have initial investigation on our top markets. We did in 23 we sorted the countries according to the revenue, and we did 23 countries in the initial legal investigation, but most of them, or I would say except one in Italy, we are good to go, and we can operate as Gamerpro in the country. In the US either, but of course we don't want to involve underage users. So when the users is coming through the game publishers, at the first point we need to be sure that the users is not under 18. So I totally agree with you, and this is our approach, that underage is not good for this kind of business. So above 18 is absolutely okay in our top countries, except Italy. But Italy is not a country.
Thank you. I'm conscious now that I think we thank you, Gary. I think on behalf of all of us, you stayed longer to ask the questions, so that's very good of you. We're going to move on shortly to our next presentation, so we're going to let you go for now. But thank you on behalf of myself and all of the judges here. So and we're going to move on very shortly. Malte, great to see you. I'd love to know what's going on, with BITKRAFT, particularly really COVID-19. Has that changed anything for you? In what sense? How many sports related, traditional sports related opportunities are you starting to see as perhaps the traditional sports world wakes up to the flexibility and the opportunities that esports provides? It'd be really cool to hear.
Yeah. So just taking it from a top, generally we've seen quite some interesting movement through COVID. I'd say it's a big accelerator. It's a big catalyst. So for what we do here, it's a big adoption curve pusher. That means new upgrading existing users and so on and so forth. So we've seen a few of our portfolio companies taking a lot of that push, which is obviously great news. Yes, obviously the funding environment has not been awesome. So for the companies who were in the market right now with ongoing fundraisers, they hit a little bit of a winter time. So that has been a focus for us to help obviously portfolio companies who been strong companies, but if you need to put guns to investors' heads to write checks, that's a difficult time for any company. So when it comes to traditional sport, we haven't seen a lot of spillover. Obviously, we've been carefully watching what's happening in traditional sports with like the leagues going down and the content dying and all of that. Pretty tragic when you look at such a great industry and this is all coming down in burning pieces for that period at least. Yes, I mean, we've seen traditional leagues going into esports, meaning sort of playing the traditional sport into a game simulation version of it, and they've seen quite some. I mean, to be also honest, I mean that's the stuff those guys seem to be a little laughingly doing like years or so back. But now it seems to be sort of a little bit like the rescue boat. Because after they saw quite some traffic there, they saw some viewerships there. They saw athletes being, traditional athletes engaged in digital activities and around gaming and game simulation. So in general speaking, I'd say that was a good thing to really push over traditional in esports.
Yeah, and just on that, I mean, this I can push this out to everybody really, but one of the things that we're starting to see, obviously, those esports entities that rely more heavily on physical venues obviously are struggling, but there are numerous entities that have had a huge boost because of COVID-19. For me, and having seen some entities that we're talking to post really good results over this very short period, what are people's thoughts on kind of what a kind of post COVID-19 looks like? So there's a great opportunity, right, for those that have acquired new clients to really monetize them in the long term and not just lose them in the short term. Is that something that we're all kind of cognizant and conscious of at this moment in time? Is while we're getting the eyes and whilst we're getting lots of interest and lots of talk about us, that we don't lose this momentum, kind of as and when we get back to a new normal. So yeah, I don't know when anyone, Fabio, if you've got a kind of thought on that.
So I think what I've been really proud to see is someone who's working alongside the game and esports industries at a time where people can't take part in competitive activity in physical spaces, or can't meet their friends. Games have been able to fill that void. People have been able to connect together socially through games, or even app games like House Party, to bring people that would have never played games before to connect around an activity with their friends. And then esports, I think it's been fantastic to see. And the first people to jump into competitive activity was Formula One with their virtual racing series that then moved to Sky, and NASCAR quickly followed that with Fox in the US. It was really fantastic to see that we that work in the sector have always known the power of games to be able to do that, to do this. And what I've been what's been really, really great to see is the fact that games and the industry have been able to step up, fill that void. I think it's important that doesn't go away as some of the other traditional sport comes into play, and that we can keep that spotlight around the games and activity that's going onwards. So with
Perfect,
networks
David.
and music games, it's fantastic.
Great, and I don't like having this kind of power, but I have someone in my ear saying we're ready for the next one. So we can come back to that if we find a moment on the screen. So we're gonna change slightly. We were gonna have Fan Thunder, but we're now going to have Punt and their CEO Phill Adams for the next pitching esports company. So they are described as the world's first esports player betting platform and AI, providing customers more choice, better value, and a fair customer experience. So Phill, over to you.
Hi, sorry, I can't see myself, so I'm going to assume that you can see me. Hi, I'm Phill Adams. I'm the Chief Executive of Punt, and we are a new esports betting platform. So I'm going to whiz through this so that I can see you all a little bit better. Okay, so esports betting is a $14 billion worldwide market estimated this year. So what's the problem with a market that is that big? Well, the problem is that traditional sports betting organizations, who are the people who are leading this, are using the systems that they've built for horse racing and football betting, cricket, tennis, the other things that they bet on, to offer bets on esports. This comes with issues about off times, changes in lineups, all of the things that esports quite happily does all the time, because they're putting on their events for their viewers, not for the betting organizations. There's also another issue with esports betting, is that the audience really understands this market a lot better than the operators do. So one of the people in our office says that she makes a decent amount of money betting on teams when they fly around the world, because she knows that the teams are going to be jet lagged, whereas the data feeds that the bookmakers are getting are not necessarily giving that much information back to their trading rooms. So what this means is the betting operators know that people like betting on esports, but they also know that the people who bet on esports know more about esports than they do. So they have to have a limited amount of product in order for them to ensure that they can make a profit. So what this has led to is you can only bet on teams. So if you can only bet on teams, there are only two outcomes. And if there are only two outcomes, then your odds are going to be somewhere less than evens. So this gives a poor customer experience. The other issue that you see a lot is that customers complain, rightly or wrongly, that when they are successful, they get their accounts closed down or limited. So the solution that we decided 18 months ago when we were looking at this is we needed to build a different sort of betting platform. So we've got a background in horse race tote betting, and horse race totes are traditionally owned by the racing industries, and the money that a horse race tote makes goes to fund the horse races that it operates on. So using tote methodology, we are able to offer more choice to our customers. We can offer bets on player performances, and more esports fans follow players than follow teams, especially in our experience. We can offer better value because as a tote, we are not a successful customer is not taking away our profit. What they're doing is they're lowering the odds of the general pool. And we can offer a fair customer experience because we don't need to turn off customers who win just because they win. So this means that Punt gives our customers more choice, better value, and a fair customer experience. Punt is live at the moment. You can go onto your phone and go into Punt, PUNTT.gg, and you can see that the site is live. We're taking bets from UK customers. And as you can see, we're offering odds. This is from the QA site over the weekend. We are offering odds on real games. On the right, on the left, we've got the win market. On the right, we've got the place market. You can see, you can look at your betting history. So here you can see I've won at odds of 3.4 to 1 on simple to get the most kills. And you can also see on the right the list of bet types that we plan to offer in the future. So we're currently saying have a bet on the person you would like to win, the person you believe is going to get the most kills in a match, or the person who's going to get the first most kills or the second most kills. But using horse race terminology here, and these may not stay, we can say which two players are going to finish in the top two, which two players are going to finish in the top two in the right order, which two players are going to finish in the top two in the first map, in the second map, and the third map. We can the options we have are for combining player markets up into interesting jackpot-like lottery-style bets is almost limitless. The market for esports betting is, as I say, already large. We are talking about a $14 billion market this year. And obviously, I don't need to tell this audience that a lot of people watch esports. To give you an idea of the scale of this, if we were to get 0.1% of the customers in Europe this year to be customers in 5 years' time, we'd be turning over £100 million a year through the tote pool. So the business model is reasonably straightforward. Everybody's bets goes into the same pool. We then take out a management fee called a takeout rate, and then the customers with winning tickets share out the money that's left in the pool. This means that we don't need to build in a high margin to ensure our profitability for when we get our prices wrong. There's also a part of our business which is hardwired into the business, which a percentage of our turnover goes directly to our community chest, so that we can plow money back into charity. This is a core idea of the business, and something that we have taken inspiration from the Hong Kong Jockey Club on, who are a business that turn over $5 or $6 billion US a year on horse racing, and a percentage of their money goes into local good causes. So they own the hospitals, they own the orphanages, they own the schools. This is going to take a while for us to get that big, but it's definitely something that we believe that betting can pay money back to the betterment of society. So
just want to say 30 seconds now.
Sorry, 30 seconds. I'll get through. Okay, so the competitors are the people you've all heard of. I would say, but they're all competing on brand and price. What Punt plans to do is compete on product and value and price as well, but also on fairness. What makes us unique is we've built this system from scratch to handle the vagaries of esports. We're using AI to enable us to price up the markets before the events even go off. This is adaptable. We're currently running on CSGO, but this is adaptable into any new esport, almost any event. I actually spoke to someone about running this on Kabaddi last week. And as a tote, we have the advantages I've already mentioned of not needing to limit our players, and we can have higher rollovers, higher jackpots. We've got two ways of going about it. Sorry?
We're going to we're out of time, I'm afraid. And to be
Right,
fair,
sorry.
but that's okay. We'll last year, as Malte attest, we just cut the mic off on people. But I
Okay.
think this time we just have to get that right in terms of what we do. So look, thank you for giving us an overview of what you've got. I think we have an opportunity now for the panel to kind of pick up any of those other points probably that you would have liked to have made. So
Sure.
Fabio, let me come to you first, if I may. If you have any questions for Phill.
Right.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the presentation. Just from a regulatory point of view in terms of licenses and anything that's about betting, can you tell me a bit more about the framework you operate in at the moment?
Sure. We're licensed in the UK, so we've got the UK is the hardest, one of the hardest countries to get licensed in. So we've got the highest standards of AML, player protection, all of the things that the UK Gambling Commission is very keen on and is getting tighter on all the time.
I see. Again, what was your revenue for, to date?
Sorry, we've been live since March the 26th. So we've been live for 2 months.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry.
So we're in a soft launch phase at the moment where we're we're testing out the AI. We're making sure that works okay. So that's allowing us. We're currently running a break even on our seeding. So we're upping our seeding at the moment. We've turned over £10,000 in the last 2 months.
And you've raised, is it 800,000 so far? Is that right?
Yeah, 764.
Okay. Are you currently raising as well, or?
Yes. So we're currently looking for up to £2 million, depending on one whether we can get it, and two which route to market we take. So if we're going to go pure B2C, we'll spend the £2 million on acquiring customers. If we raise less, we will focus more on the B2B side of it, which we've already signed off. Well, we've already agreed our first deal with our first international commingling partner. I'm in conversations with a number of large betting operators you would have heard
of. Any of your angel following on, or previous investors?
Yes. Yep. Two definitely are. One is thinking about it.
Okay. Thanks, Phill. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Patrick, any questions?
Yeah, Phill, that was fascinating. I'll be the first to admit I don't know a ton about the industry, but you had me at something about when you said something to the effect of that, the users know more than the betting operators do. I love that kind of disruption and when things are sort of turned on their head. So my question is, and you sort of just answered it. So you have two routes to market. One seems to be a full vertical. You raise enough money to basically do this as a soup to nuts betting organization on your own. And the second one, and maybe I don't mean to oversimplify this, but the second one is the B2B side, where you can offer this expertise and technology to existing sort of general betting companies that we've all heard of, as you said. What would you prefer?
To be fair, the key to running a tote, my background is I work for the South African tote, I work for the UK tote kind of for a while. What we'd like to do is we'd like to have as many customers of our own that we can, while offering access to our pools to operators who are operating in markets that we can't afford to get into. So somewhere like Sweden has got a very strict licensing regime, and it would be much better for us to partner with someone in Sweden like ATG or Svenska Phill to have them deal with all the customer management. If we were going to operate in the Far East, we don't have call center people or even Discord people who are going to be fluent in Chinese. So it's generally a mix. I mean, esports is largely an English language entity, but there will be times when a market is easier to do through a partner. So my preferred market is actually both.
Okay. We actually do the same, to be honest. I mean, a lot of our joint ventures in foreign countries are with partners because it's just easier. So I understand that. But do you see I just really like the idea of disrupting an industry, right? So do you see the ability to take Ladbrokes on head on, or whatever the US equivalent is? And
I actually had Ladbrokes on my board for one of my jobs, and I wouldn't ever want to fight a $1 billion company until I was a $1 billion company.
Yeah.
It's I think that you can be disruptive without being problematic. What we want to do is we want to lead the charge to say, look, this is the best way to do this. This is the way that we can drive this stuff forward, without saying all bookmakers are bad, because all bookmakers aren't bad. You know, the bookmakers do the things that they do very well. What they're not is the only answer in the world of betting.
Yeah. No, when I say take them on, I mean in a competitive.
Oh, but no, I mean we'd be going after their customers in the same way that Ladbrokes will go after Bet365 customers. What we don't want to do is enter into the price war that the UK bookmakers are currently engaged in, where they've driven their CPA up from 30 quid 10 years ago up to about 150 quid. Because what they're doing is they're buying low value, low loyalty customers with short-term offers, and people just churn through the free bet offers. You know, we're not in that market. We want a long-term relationship with our customers.
Yeah, which makes sense, because I think at least for the next 5, medium event horizon, 5 years, 10 years, the esports customers, it's a lot different. You know, there's a value proposition, there's a loyalty proposition, there's an education proposition there, or an educated proposition in there. So it's very interesting. I really like the disruption. Yeah.
I mean, there was when I worked for the South African Tote, we used to say we were the home of the educated bet, because that's what we wanted to be. We want to be the betting platform for the people who know what they're talking about. You know, this isn't a question of this is a 50-50 and I'm going to get 1.8 to 1. This is do you know what? I know that guy is good on that map, and I know that he's going to that team's going to play in this way, and therefore I can spot value over here.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Just as a follow-on for that, before I open up to David and Malte, is me too, Patrick. Absolutely. In terms of the disruptive element. But my question is, the huge pockets of some of these firms. Kind of talking through the tote. Is this something that somebody else could do? So could Ladbrokes see that this is working well and just say, hey, we're going to do this, and we've got deeper pockets, and we're just going to go at this? What protects you from a competitor coming into the market and just sweeping away what you've got at this moment in time?
Okay, so I was actually chatting to one of the trading directors at Ladbrokes last year about something else. And he said, we're not going to risk assess player markets in a fixed odds sense for another 2 years, because we'll get taken apart. The way that the bookies operate is going to make them very difficult for them to offer fixed odds on player betting anytime soon. The tote could do it, but all of the tote, and I used to sit on the tote protocol standard meetings in America, the tote systems are currently built in such a way that they work really, really well for horse racing, but they don't work really well for esports, because you can't change systems on the fly, because they're built on, the North American totes are built on systems that were built for American horse racing in the 1990s and have got bigger and faster, but they've got less wieldy at the same time. I was actually talking to the chief executive of Amtote about this in February when I saw him at ICE. So yes, they can do it, and yes, someone like Amtote is going to want to change the way that their tote protocol works. But in order for them to change the way their tote protocol works, they need to redesign the entire North American betting system, and that's going to take some time, especially when they're fighting off a whole bunch of bookies who are sitting there going, we're going to take North America apart because PASPA's now changed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm conscious I'm hearing somebody in my ear saying that we need to progress to the next area. So I'm sorry to the panel who didn't get to ask a question, but I'll make sure as we move through, everyone gets different opportunities to ask the questions. So Phill, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your pitch. And we'll leave you now as we set up for our final pitch.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, so Yeah, interesting. Malte, David, I'm conscious I didn't get really to ask you a question on that, but just kind of thoughts from you both briefly on that one.
Say again. Sorry, I had again connection issues here.
Yeah, I was conscious, Malte. I didn't get to you or David to ask questions to Phill there, but are there any thoughts on the last pitch?
Yeah, I mean the key question to me, going to the B2C side of things, it's an expensive hobby, right? To sustain a big giants in the customer acquisition side of things. So on a B2C side, this is quite a risky business, and the ability to show positive unit economics in that market is a pretty tough one. Yeah. That will be my number one concern there. I like the model in general. I think that if those guys, I think they have a little bit of a window right now, and I mean. In all transparency, I've been speaking with Phill prior to this clutch about this model and stuff. I think he's onto something given what he brings to the party there, but he needs to execute super fast and he needs to sort of grab it now. And so he needs to be up against that huge acquisition risks there, which will cost him a lot of money to prove out that space, which is my feedback. I thought it was quite interesting.
Yeah, and hence why I asked the question about, kind of how do you get to protect what you have if somebody else comes into that space. I think I'm being spoken to in my ear, Rob. Could you just mention that again, please? Okay. So I think we're ready for the next one. So David, I'm gonna have to park that for now. So on to our final, last but not least, Fan Thunder. Okay, sorry. No, we do have a slight technical hitch. I'm starting to feel like I'm casting some live news event at this moment in time. So we're gonna pause briefly. David, any comments on that then from your side?
I would echo Malte's comments on that one. I think see, gambling's not something I'm particularly massively close to. I think there's a history within the industry, within games, where it's quite difficult. Be interested to see what the mechanisms they were putting in place to make it better for the individuals, better for the companies, and a more responsible form around games. But no, I would absolutely echo Malte's points.
Okay, thank you, David. I want it, Fabio. Station 12. I know you're conscious you're eating. I'm a bit jealous. I'm hungry. It's nearly 9 p.m. here, and I haven't eaten yet. So and there's pizza smell somewhere from my family. But I just wanted to know how you are, how Station 12 is going, and any news right now. Something anything you want to mention?
Sure. Very quickly from me. It's been a long day and I'm having my dinner, so sorry. But we are a boutique fund, a young fund still, relatively. And our focus is very much on sports, media, entertainment, and knowledge. Within knowledge, we put in things like education, learning, insight. So right off, I can say that I don't do gambling, I don't do betting. So I think Punt was interesting, but to echo, Malte's comment and David's. The B2C game in a betting environment is not. I mean, it is tough, and it's not for us. What is at the core of our investment thesis, if you like, is content, experiences, and the tech, the platforms, supporting those two key themes. So the distribution, the monetization, the creation of the content. Very interested in what's called now the multiverse, or the metaverse, coming from Unreal, and so all these new platforms are very interesting. And I thought all of the three we've seen so far for teams was possibly the most interesting, or potentially more something that the kind of proposition we would be looking at. I asked the question about COVID-19 because I think COVID-19 is a bit of a revealer. It does reveal the business models, the platforms that do work and those that don't. Quibi didn't work out. Disney packed up so many subscribers in this COVID-19 period. So it is a great revealer. And And I think there are lots, I mean, despite all the noise of the pandemic and all the, the bad noise, there is definitely some signal there. There are some signs about, what to expect for the next 5 years. And I think it's encouraging, and that's one of the reasons we as a fund, we are looking more into esports. And I appreciate the opportunity of being here. I mean, it's always a learning curve and meeting guys like yourself. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you for that. That's just really interesting to hear. So I think we asked Phill, waiting on it, and I suppose my comment on that is obviously asking the question about size of competitors and, like you say, acquisition of clients and different things. But there is something, Patrick, isn't there? You're right in that element of disruptive fan knowledge, understanding of players, understanding of the way players play, how they can get into it. I sat with the team and we watched the CDL, and I see different things from our players. And when we play Search and Destroy at Royal Ravens, we're brilliant. I feel like we're the best at Search and Destroy. Different elements, maybe there's work to do, but they're still unbelievable. Streets ahead of me, but I like the fact that it's incredibly engaging. And being sat at London at our event back in February with a bunch of guys from a business partner of mine, his son and friends, they're all looking at ways of kind of betting and trying to find ways to bet and play and do different things. So. I think there's something in it, right, Patrick? Feels like it.
Yeah, well, the disruption is it's kind of why I'm here. I don't know if you guys know, I come from the music business, and that was 20 years of pretty straight, pretty established business, and this has turned everything that I thought about events and marketing and merchandising and everything else on its head. But to Malte's point, he makes a very shrewd business point, is that sort of caught in the middle, right? I mean, it's like the disruption is great in that space because there's a bunch of things that those guys can do that they can lead in the industry, but the scale is already there, and to fight that scale will be really, really expensive. So it's sometimes you just got to go. I think sometimes you just got to go for it, though, right?
Yeah. This is the interesting position we find ourselves in, though, right? It's at some point someone's going to have that conversation and say, what does it take, and which is the best route? Is it B2C? Is it B2B? Sounds like a really interesting proposition to get some of the more traditional betting companies into the market with a exciting, speaks to the audience kind of offer. Anyway, we are now at a point. We have our final pitch, and we have FanFunder and their CEO David Crossley. So they're going to present their fan-funded platform for gaming and esports, enabling grassroots all the way through to pros to grow. So David, good to see you. Over to you.
Okay. Hello, I'm Dave Crossley, here to pitch my business, FanFunder. In terms of background, I have 25 years corporate, marketing and IT experience. Last June, I joined Launchpad, a business startup incubator based in Cornwall, where we spotted this market opportunity. The business will incorporate this summer an SEIS, Advanced Assurance, is in progress. FanFunder is an esports crowdfunding platform to help players and teams reach the next level, whether it be funding for coaching, gaining new team members, or attending global tournaments. Our research identified 3 key problems. The top end of esports is well developed, financially lucrative, but it's not filtering down to the grassroots level. Crowdfunding is used for esports projects, but it's fragmented across 20 different sites such as Kickstarter, Patreon, GoFundMe, and Crowdcube, each providing different funding methods, including rewards, equity, donations, and subscriptions. Thirdly, it's difficult to reach the next level because there's no defined progression path, and serious funding only exists at the top level from major sponsors. Our solution is an esports crowdfunding platform supporting players and teams to reach the next level. Funding seekers and backers will save time using one place instead of 20. will offer more choice with multiple funding options, and will have wider reach from a fantastically loyal esports community to maximise the potential for achieving goals. The product is a fan funding website and app, an esports community to support each other and network, and a blog to promote crowdfunding best practice and interviews from leading figures on how to reach the next level. Crowdfunding and esports continue to provide lucrative growth opportunities. Although there were 33,000 successfully crowdfunded esports projects from 2014 to 2020, we believe there's a huge opportunity to convert the 223 million esports enthusiasts, fans to funders of their favourite players and teams. Our business and revenue model is very simple. We take 5% fee from every successfully funded project. So over 3 years, delivering 5,300 projects with an average fee of £317, will deliver 1.7 million revenue. Our route to market will focus on the unserved amateur and semi-pro players and teams who wants to reach the next level tournaments. We'll work with team coaches, managers and recruiters who know and can identify candidate players and teams who show potential but are lacking the financial means. We'll start a referral scheme and early adopters incentives for those debuting on the platform. And through an innovative fund and share scheme, funders could share a percentage of any prize monies won. Other rewards could include exclusive backstage access on the journey or free coaching sessions post-tournament. Supporting this, discussions are underway with talent acquisition, platform and promotional partners. So why are we different? FanFunder will be the go-to place for esports players and teams. It will be driven by loyal esports community who will support each other and help shape and develop the platform. And it will offer all methods of funding, including the unique fund and share scheme. So let's look at the financials. I'm seeking £50,000 to deliver the beta platform to debut the early adopter players and teams. Growing our network over the next 3 years will deliver 5,000 successfully funded projects, generating 1.7 million revenue. That concludes my pitch. I'd now like to take any questions.
David, thank you. Short and sweet. That's, you know.
And I can't beat anything.
When I look across the PowerPoint, guys, sometimes that's exactly what we're looking for at this moment in time. So that's really interesting. I have some questions, but let's kick it off with David if we can. I'm sure there's
so many Davids here. David, great presentation. Thank you so much for taking us through that. So I just wanted to look at, so as you build your platform, it's going to be really important that you build an audience that can give you the power to achieve what you need to do. How do you aim to achieve that? And are you working with any partners to kickstart that when you get to that point?
Good question. We started the partner, as you can probably tell, it's very early stage. So we've only just started approaching potential partners about 2 years ago. So we're talking to the likes of Hitmarker, Edge, the British Esports Association. We've made good progress. People are interested, but they want to talk a little bit later down the line when we've got something to show them. But really positive feedback at a very early stage.
Okay, and how will you build the audience to empower you to power those people that will come onto your platform?
Okay, so so we've got the double-sided marketplace. So On the funding side, we're going to, as I say, we're talking to various partners as almost sources of potential candidates. So from our research, we identified that coaches are playing an increasingly important role, really, in terms of team performance for esports teams. So, so what we've tried to do there is reach out to coaching associations. So we're trying to get in at the high level to say, you know, we've got a product here which should be of interest to your coaches and to your teams. Do you want to partner up in some capacity? We're also going to approach most of the amateur universities. So we've already spoken to about 5 or 10 of them, including really good relationships with Warwick Uni and Staffs Uni. So that's sort of like the pipeline for pushing hopeful stars of tomorrow. And then we've also, as I say, we've started to speak to Richard Huggan of Hitmarker, and we need to pick up other recruitment firms as well as sources of potential candidates.
Okay. Thanks, David.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Malte.
Yeah, so question, I mean, David, thanks for the pitch. It's pretty interesting, I must say, and we haven't had the chance to speak prior. The question I have, like, how much differentiation potential is there to, like, the ordinary mainstream funding crowdsourcing platforms, A? And the other question is, like, what sort of underlying assets / products you think you're going to be funding with it? Is it talent mainly, or is it products, or what do you have in mind which deserves to be funded by community?
Okay, my grand vision for FanFunder is to be the Kickstarter of esports. So anything to do with funding esports related initiatives, people will go to FanFunder. Now, obviously, to start off with, I've got to start niche. So we thought that the best route to market was going to be those amateur and semi-pro teams who are trying to reach the next level tournaments. We see that as an opportunity. Good question on the differentiation. So I think a lot of what we want to do is to reinvent crowdfunding, really. At the moment, it's all product-led. So you go to Kickstarter if it's reward. If you want equity, you go to Crowdcube. And we want to say, no. I want to go where funding seekers and backers meet and make things happen. And hopefully that will be FanFunder.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of agree with everyone else. It's definitely interesting, and it you know, going back to the theme over the last couple of pitches, it sort of checks a lot of boxes for me. It's the disruption. I've obviously naturally been a big fan of crowdfunding. I've spent most of my career sort of doing things myself. So I get all of that, but again, I have to sort of echo Malte's question, which is what sets it apart, because it's I don't know if you heard before, I was saying I like the disruption in terms of like doing your own new platform. We were talking about another pitch, but I almost have to do a 180 here where it is such a crowded space, and it is a little bit confusing, and that's there is sort of this technological overkill in everyday life, especially with COVID-19. I mean, even to get on this call, I went from a WhatsApp message to a Zoom room to whatever system this is to even get on this call, and that does get it gets a little bit hard on a day-to-day basis. So I mean, really want to ask again, what would set you apart from everyone else? Because I think you really have to hammer that home.
Okay, I've got an answer for that. I believe it's going to be the fund and share aspect. So nobody else is doing this as far as the research shows. So what we want to do is for funders to actually potentially share some of the prize monies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So not only are they fans of these esports teams the great following they've got, actually there's a lucrative financial opportunity for them as well, but also it brings in other fans who may or investors who actually want to make some money from esports. So we see the differentiator.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Fabio, time for one last question.
Yeah, very quickly. Thanks, David. You mentioned a crowdfunding campaign in Cornwall. I mean, I assume you're referring to Crowdcube. So in the UK, we have basically two big crowdfunding platforms. There's Crowdcube, there's Seedrs. They still have to make a significant, impactful exit to actually prove the crowdfunding model. So the question to you is, what makes you believe you can actually achieve scaled success with such a platform, and how long do you think it'll take, and what's the path you envision? Of course, the path will change 1,000 times until we get there, hopefully, but what is the path you envision to get there?
Okay. But from some of the early research we did, we believe there's a lot of annoyance with a lot of the existing crowdfunding platforms who've almost become too fat and lazy because nobody's come in to disrupt the market. So they've each sat on their respective rewards, equity, donation, subscriptions, almost each sharing different spaces. We want to come in, as I say, and disrupt that by saying, FanFunder, you won't have to choose. We will have all methods available for you. And we're going to include a new, innovative fund and share scheme where you actually, if teams are successful and win big tournaments, you're actually going to share some of the proceeds for giving them the chance to go there in the first place. So I believe the fund and share will differentiate us and get us there. I believe the focus on esports with its huge growth and the following and the loyalty of the fans that doesn't exist anywhere else, and also having all those funding methods available so people can choose.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. And David, I suppose from my side, just the final bit, because we're going to wrap up in a moment, but I do have, I think you're onto something, because we all recognise that the power of the engagement of the fan base behind it. That is definitely of interest. They are interested in it. I hear conversations all the time about tokenization and all these opportunities to engage fans within communities. So there's something in that. For me, if I kind of go back and put my tech hat on, I'm absolutely with the other guys about, okay, how do you differentiate a product, and how do you acquire the clients for that product? But also for me, it's about if you're going to build something yourself, the build out of the tech can start to run expensive quite quickly. And then also I have questions about the regulatory side of things. So in effect, by creating this crowd-funded platform, if you're crowdfunding for yourself, then of course that's one thing, but it's, have you got all of that? Where's the expertise within the business that's handling tech and regulatory side of things at the moment, David, if I may ask? Just looking at your background, is that you or is that somebody else?
No, that's a key question. So alongside a million other things, what I've started discussions on is to get a CTO on board as a joint co-founder. So I see two gaps at the moment that need to be plugged. One is on the tech side. I've been an IT project manager for 7-8 years, so I understand the high level themes and concepts, but I want somebody who understands the detail underneath. So that's where a CTO comes in to put the right tech solution together and to give us that forward vision. The other side of it is I'm also in discussions with an esports coach as well. I think that could be really key to attract other coaches on board and associations and teams. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, David. We'll leave it there as the final question. So thank you very much for your pitch, and we're going to move aside now and just go back to to our panel of investors. We've got to, we're kind of going to wrap up in 2 minutes, but I mean, my summary is Malte and I were on last year's panel. We saw some good pitches. I think some interesting food for thought there, right, from the 4 entities that pitched today. Some really disruptive and engaging products. Certainly ones that, equally, Malte, I've seen a few of these come through our pipeline deal flow, and it's really interesting to see them here today. And it's an interesting time to pitch digitally. I mean, I don't know what it looks like for them when they're pitching out at the moment, but it's certainly it's not quite the same as being sat in front of people or even on the phone. So, I mean, it's something that we're either all used to by now or getting used to. But I suppose just a kind of 30 seconds from each of you before we wrap up on, kind of how you felt that went and any particular comments. So we'll start with you, Patrick, if I may, and I'm going to kind of go around.
Yeah, I think, well, you had asked a question a couple times ago about changes with COVID-19, and I was going to say, on the music side for us still, it's the biggest change for us is we just lost a massive distribution network of, there's not going to be live shows for, who knows how long, And so there's always been this argument, at least in entertainment, which is more important, content or distribution, and I'm not sure that question's been answered, completely here, but in these times, especially what we're talking about, distribution has a lot of value. And so I think every one of these pitches certainly addressed distribution or at least connection, well, and that's going to be a big part of figuring out the new normal is how to connect and how to push things out. It's going to be two-way, really. I mean, how to push things out, but also bring people in. Yeah,
great. Yeah, absolutely. David.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fantastic just to see. I think all of the pitches all identified, an issue or a particular problem where they had a solution to create something better for the gamer or for the market. And it's been really great to see kind of the range of where everyone's at. Everyone's at a different stage in the life cycle of the project. And it's just been fantastic to see and to see some of that passion. I would have loved to have, had maybe a bit more time to dig really in deeper. I think from a lot of the questions you can guess, I really like to get under the skin of some of the things, but all fantastic pitches. Really glad to be part of it.
Great. Thank you. Malte.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that. It's been fantastic. It's amazing to see the variety of things, both on the product side, on the stage side, also on the people side. Like, there couldn't be more different from the founder perspective, which we're presenting here. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed that a lot because it just spices up our life and our job a lot. So I really enjoyed it. It's pretty cool.
Perfect. And Fabio, lastly.
Yeah, all of the above, and very interesting to see the I don't like this word, sorry, the ecosystem, the esports business growing and then finding different avenues and trying to see to find different pockets of value. We have to see, how and when esports as an industry will start to rival the esports business. In terms of revenues, in terms of sponsorship coming in terms of attendance. It's a bit like VR. We've been I feel we've been waiting for it for some time, and as an investor, it's getting more and more interesting for sure, but even more and more difficult because it is still very much a growing business, and I do find personally finding losers and picking winners or potential winners is still hard. So trying to stay on the fundamentals, but also allowing for, waiting for a spectacular team with an idea and then some execution skills. I think that's the fundamentals. But I appreciate the opportunity to participate to those events. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And just to summarize then, just finally, I mean, it's getting dark everywhere apart from with you, Patrick, I think, at the moment. But I mean, look, I want to thank teams Gamerpro, Punt, and FanFunder for those incredible pitches. Patrick, David, Malte, Fabio, for your insightful comments. It's really great to hear you all and talking and asking the questions and really starting to get under. And you're right, David, it'd be great to have longer to get under the skin of some of these things. But I think it's always great to see you all kind of asking those kind of questions and just seeing the kind of breadth of stuff that's coming through at the moment. So just finally, I've heard now we're actually going to announce the winner of the digital clutch. We have some work to do to kind of talk amongst ourselves, but it won't be tonight, but we'll need to do that. And it's going to be next week via the ESI social channels. So for anybody watching, thank you very much for staying with us and bearing with us. But we're going to jump off now.
One more thing, Patrick, are we using your dog as the oracle to make the choice here?
Yeah, sure. What do you think about that? Yeah. Luckily, it's another 15 minutes. You start barking because it'll be time to go out. Like I said,
yes.
Under lockdown, things have gotten really predictable. Yeah. So.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Guys.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you very much. Take care.